What's up, everyone? It's your favorite podcast host, NikiMarie. I am here for the Love Chat episode with my two special guests. I'll allow them to introduce themselves, starting with the man to my right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steven Robinson, and I am a relationship coach. I've been a relationship coach for about a good 2 years now. So thank you for having me on the show.
Yay. Repeat offender. Ding, 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 ding. And last but not least.
Hello. My name is Mac. I am a couples therapist with a master's in mental health counseling. This is my first time here, and I've been looking forward to this event all week long.
Yes. So, as you guys know, I'm all about relationships, love, life, and experience. And I want to pick your brains because you guys are the experts. So I'm learning a little bit. I'm in a relationship, but I need to learn a little bit more, right? So what is your take on relationships? I'm going to start with Steven.
So my take on relationships are very, very phenomenal. But they're only phenomenal when they're done right. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of us, we get into relationships where we do not understand the dynamics of the relationship, and we go in there and we hurt the other person that we're in a relationship with. But however, if we understand the dynamics of a relationship and we can go in there and we can meet our partner's needs, it makes for a great and beautiful thing.
All right, I'm going to come back to that because I want to know what wants versus needs are. So I'm going to go with Mac. What's your take on relationships?
How could I top what he just said? Well, just to kind of follow that train of thought, I would say that relationships are easy. People are just difficult.
Ooh.
Right? To me, relationship is a skill. One must learn the appropriate skill set, mindset, techniques in order to function in a positive relationship. Okay. However, if you've never acquired or learned these skills, then it's never going to work. Therefore, it becomes a negative experience.
So the skills. So my take is we're humans and
Correct.
We're all different, right? We have different ways of viewing things, different ways of communicating. So how do we learn to mesh those things together? Like taking our opposite sides and making them whole.
So how to kind of take two different individuals with the mindset of wanting to become one and function as one holistic couple.
Right.
So the example that I usually give is that we weren't born learning how to drive. We weren't born learning how to speak or how to write an essay or how to perform certain things that we were not equipped with. We learned. We went to school. We did it through experience or whatever the case may be. I applied the same lesson to relationships. There's way too many information out there where you can learn how to communicate properly, how to handle conflict, how to improve all aspects of your relationship. It is up to you to do the work so that when you do find that one that you want to be with, you already have the skill set to make that work.
Right. So I want to kind of piggyback off of that. When you're learning about the relationship or how to communicate better, Steven, with your experience, have you dealt with trying to learn someone and actually it just didn't work out for you? Like you learned so much about how to improve communication or whatever it was that you needed to improve on and it just didn't work.
What I will say in regards to that is I do believe that I have experienced that. And what I mean by that is when I tried to learn somebody, right, I was not fully invested in truly learning all their communication skills and things of that nature. So what I was doing was I was just taking what I thought was right instead of asking my partner, hey, how would you like me to communicate with you? Because we go into relationships a lot of the time saying, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to communicate like X, Y, and Z. But guess what? Your partner might not be receptive to that. So it's very imperative that we make sure that we ask our partner how or what is the best way for us to communicate to you. And communicating is key, but I will say effective communication is the key.
So, do you guys feel comfortable talking about your relationship statuses right now?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mac, what's your relationship status right now?
So I have been with the love of my life for... You see, I always trip myself by trying to give a time frame. And it's just like, well, you're 1 month off or you're 2 months in advance. So I round it up. We've been together for about 8 years now.
Nice.
We're engaged. She's currently planning the wedding. And I'm going to be honest, like the first 4 years were the toughest 4 years in my life, as it challenged me to become a different version of myself in order to function properly within my relationship. However, after those 4 years, I can say that I have a beautiful, long-lasting, healthy relationship. So I'm thankful for that.
Well, I have to say congratulations.
Thank you, my man. Thank you.
Congratulations. Don't try and not answer the question, Stephen.
Oh, I have no problem with answering the question. And for right now, for me, I am single.
Okay.
Right? So what that means for me is I'm just getting to know people to see if that one woman is a good fit for my life. Okay. So I am not in a committed relationship right at this second.
So you already know the question I'm about to ask, right?
Okay.
So for those people listening and watching, they're going to say, well, how is he able to advise when he's single?
And you know
he's
what?
He's not in a relationship. So what gives him the right to advise someone else on their relationship when he doesn't even have a relationship?
And, I get that question all the time, right? So here's the answer to that question. If anybody knows anything about me, right? So there was a vision that God gave me, and the vision was to revolutionize relationships for the better using biblical principles, right? And so for me, I believe that God's way is the best way to do relationships, right? And so if you know anything about a principle is something that does not change. So if it's something that does not change, and I'm teaching relationships based off of who we believe the standard of relationship comes from, which is God, that's what ordains me to be able to teach on relationships.
Right. Go ahead. I know Mac was like, I'm ready.
No, my thing is, I also get that question a lot, right? Because I've been doing couples work for about five years now. And they're not used to a young black man that's talking about relationships to the degree that I have done so. So my answer usually is, if your arm is broken, do you go to someone whose arm is broken as well? Or do you go to a doctor who specializes in fixing broken arms?
You would go to a doctor who specializes.
That's who I am when it comes to relationships. I've put in my hours, I've done my work, and I know exactly how to make it work due to the fact that my interventions are not based on my relationships. What worked for me may not work for you.
Absolutely.
Right.
I have an ability to assess your relationship, look at it, address it, and then input the necessary interventions that's going to work for your relationship. So that's the difference.
Okay. So how did you meet your significant other?
So I was a personal banker.
Okay.
She walked in. I looked up. I had a customer in front of me. She was the next one. And she was supposed to go to the other personal banker.
Right.
I messaged him quickly and said, don't take her. I got this one.
See how this works?
So I took care of my previous customer. Then when it got up to her, she wanted to exchange $100 into singles due to the fact that she works for a clothing store and she needed change. That was too easy for me, right? The minute it's 100 singles, I could take that to any type of conversation.
Right.
So that was my opening.
I could only imagine the conversation. Wait, you want 100 singles? Are you a stripper?
Where you
Are you going to the strip club?
Can I come? You didn't invite me? So we had this conversation. We exchanged numbers. She did not like me at first at all. I had to prove myself. I had to come correct.
Okay.
And I rose to the occasion, and now we're happily ever after.
I love that. I love it.
Nice. That's very interesting. Where would you usually go to meet someone? Like, are you, Stephen, are you looking or are you waiting for God to bring or present this opportunity for you to have love again? Or like,
All right, so that's a very, very good question. So would I say that I'm looking? I wouldn't say that I'm hardcore looking.
I'm not saying like going down the street, walking around like
right.
scoping it out.
But what I am is I'm open to getting to know somebody, meaning that for me, I personally believe, and the Bible talks about it, is being friends, right? So I'm building a friendship with somebody to see if they are a good fit for my life. And I just did a video on this about transitioning from friendship to partnership. Right. And so like, let's just say I'm hanging out with a woman that, we're just friends and we're doing, going to amusement places together, all that good stuff. Right. And then I start to take a romantic interest in her. So then from that point, and this is just me, from that point, I will talk to God. God is my ace boon coon. Right. So he directs my paths. And I go to him and I said, hey, look, I'm starting to take a romantic interest in this woman, and I pray to him about it and everything like that. And if he says, hey, I give you permission to pursue her, right? I will go back to her and I will say, hey, look, I'm taking a romantic interest in you. I prayed to God about it. This is what God told me. He told me that you're a good fit for my life, right? And from that point, I'll tell her, hey, look, you pray on it. You see what God tells you. Right. And if you want to take this journey with me, then we'll go ahead and take this journey. It's ultimately up to you. So that's what I mean by I'm not actively seeking, right? But I am getting to know people to see if they are a good fit for my life.
I feel like I always run into the problem of putting God into a relationship or God into a conversation. You ever feel like some people are like, look, you too much of the Lord.
And that's perfectly fine, because if they feel that way, then they're not for me.
Right.
So
it's like you got to put God first before anybody else.
For me,
for
me, that's exactly what I believe. I believe God is the center of my life,
right?
And I go to Him concerning all things, not just my relationship,
right? Yeah, Mac was good, Mac.
So to me, where do we go to meet people that we can actually end up with? So I did a post not too long ago, right, which stated that your dream guy or what's the term? Your soulmate does not exist. That does not exist. There's nobody out there that you're just going to meet them and boom, have happily ever after.
Right.
However, there are people out there that are able to become your soulmate, right? Because soulmate, in the sense of Hollywood, is just you just meet and you click and everything goes perfectly. But that's not true. Like my wife has become my soulmate. She had to learn me. She had to learn how to show up for me the way that I needed her to show up for me, and me vice versa. Right. So this idea that I'm just going to stay home and watch Netflix and I'm gonna walk into Starbucks, he's gonna pass, he's gonna look at me and magic is going to happen. That only happen in movies, people. Yeah. Only in movies.
But people look at that and like, oh, I want that. And they make that their ideal relationship.
Correct.
Not really knowing that, hey, it's not that easy.
Correct.
So how do we, is there an easy way? Is there an easy button? You know, and that was easy. Push a button. That was easy.
An easy button. I don't believe that there is an easy button. But going back to what Max said at the very beginning of the show, right? And I made a similar post about that. He said relationships are not necessarily hard. People make them hard.
Correct.
Because like he said, we have skill sets that we can learn.
Right.
And the relationship is going to take work, but people have to understand that there's a difference between relationship work and a relationship struggle. Right? So work is, hey, look, I'm putting in the work. I'm utilizing the skills to make this a successful relationship. Whereas a struggle is we're not putting in the work. You're not doing anything. And, you're saying, oh, I want to make this relationship work. Right. No, it's not going to work.
I agree. And I think one of my popular posts states that, did your relationship fail, or did you fail to make your relationship work? A lot of people, the minute title are assigned, they become comfortable. They keep on that routine, not realizing that they are no longer working on their relationship.
Now you hit the button.
Right.
Once a week, you should sit down with your partner and assess the state of your relationship.
Absolutely.
How am I doing? How am I loving you? Am I showing up correctly? Have I missed anything? What's our goal for next week? How can I love you better next week? Can we check in the middle of the week?
I like this
The
guy.
work never ends. I like it too, man. I've been watching his page like crazy. I'm like, ooh, I wish I came up with that one. It's very rare that I find something. I'm like, damn, he got that.
Yeah,
He got that.
But you had many, I guess, different parts of like Black love, and you touched the core just now. Like, it's relationships go through stages,
Correct.
right? And we'll get into that the second hour. But it's like you are being chased by someone because they really want you. They show everything, like they're so romantic and they do all these amazing gestures, but then something changes because of now, our status is together, we're in a relationship. Why does that change?
Well, people,
It's like the thrill is gone, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So, what happens is when they get into a relationship, a lot of times, they stop pursuing.
Right.
They stop pursuing because they feel like, oh, I have this already. Right. So I don't need to put in the work. When in all actuality, you have to continue to put in the work in order to keep the relationship at the very, how should I say it? Fresh. Yes. So like at the beginning of the relationship, what are you guys doing? You guys are doing all of these things to get to truly know each other. And, you're kind of going out your way, but then you think, oh, I got this person. I don't need to do this anymore. Actually, you should continue to do that because that's how the love will never die.
So it's like people say you have to continuously date each other.
Absolutely.
Correct. And one thing that I just had a session not too long ago, and I was talking to a couple, and I've noticed that the love is gone. Not that it's gone, but it's at its baseline. It's no longer causing all of the emotions that it used to.
The butterflies.
Correct. So I was thinking on my way here, and as you just spoke, now I got it. For a long-lasting relationship to work, your why must continue to evolve. I was chasing you, why? Because I was attracted to you, and I wanted to be with you. Now that we're in a relationship, why? Because I love you. You make me a better person. I want to continue to be with you. We have children. Now you're the mother of my child. I want to provide my home. I want to provide a proper home to my kids, a role model. Like your why must continue to evolve. If your why remains the same as it was when you were courting the person, then the relationship will fizzle out. Right? At times we have to ask ourselves, why are we still in this relationship? Why do we want to be with this person? And the why will determine what course of actions you start taking.
What do you say, since you brought up kids, what do you say about people that stay in relationships, like a bad relationship, because of their kids?
Define bad. Physically.
I wouldn't say physically.
Okay.
I'll say anything other than physical abuse. Like maybe it's verbal abuse.
Okay.
Or like one of them feels like it's emotionally damaging to them because they're being broken down by words.
I understand. So one of the stats is like people wait 6 years too long or too late to get into therapy or to hire a coach. People come see me when their relationship is on their last leg, where if this don't work, we're getting divorced. I've already contacted a lawyer. Like that's part of my screening.
Yeah.
Right. So the things that you're talking about, they've always been present. They've seen it. Those red flags have always been there. However, I do think that you have the power to improve your relationship however you choose to. And I always say, like, to give it your best in terms of having the conversation, like, what's happening? What's causing all of this? What's my reaction to it? Am I causing it? Am I the trigger to it? And also bringing it to your partner, but in a proper way, which is why communication is so important.
Yeah.
Things like that require the ability from both partners to know how to communicate. So when you're having the discussion with them, they're not more triggered. They don't become more upset, and the action doesn't continue to perpetuate.
Right.
However, if it comes into a time where you feel like your safety, your mental health, and your emotional well-being is non-conducive to the relationship, I suggest that you exit, have some time to yourself, and then reassess. Don't stay in it just because, but find out if you can address it. If not, and always seek some help from a relationship coach or a couples therapist.
Well, Stephen, what do you think about relationship coaches that advise people to break up?
So,
like, without even trying.
So for me,
and it's mostly, I'll just say, cheating.
Right.
Like, because we have deal breakers, right?
Right. We do have deal breakers.
So if a relationship coach says, well, that person cheated on you, you shouldn't even go and get help. You should just break up because you sought outside the marriage or outside the relationship.
So I don't agree with that. So for me, anybody that knows me or that has watched my stuff know that I never tell a person to stay or to leave a relationship unless there is some type of physical harm being done to that person. Right? So if a person is in a relationship and they were cheated on, what I would always suggest is trying to see if you guys can go to a relationship coach or, you said the coach tells them to break up. I don't agree with that.
Go to a different coach.
But go to a coach. Go to a coach that understands that, okay, you know what? Let's try everything to salvage the relationship. And then after trying, if you are unable to forgive this person, then it's not going to work out, right? So at that point, if you guys want to exit the relationship, then that's on you guys. However, what I will always say is try to work it out if you both want to work it out. So that's my answer to that.
Okay. I want to go back to the wants versus needs. So define the wants versus needs in a relationship.
Okay. So the wants could be something like, oh, you know what? I want... and this, I'm just speaking for myself. I could be like, oh, I want a brown skinned woman that's 5'5" or something like that. You know, that's a want. But for me, a need is a woman who has a connection with God.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So like that's a need because I need to continue growing spiritually with my partner.
Right.
So I'm going to be growing spiritually by myself, but I also want to grow spiritually with my partner. If I feel that God's way is the best way of doing relationships, me personally, I don't need a person who doesn't believe that, because then that's going to cause grief and strife within the relationship. Right. So that's a need for me. Right. So a want is anything that, hey, this is a preference, right? And I think you had Frank on your show and he talked about some needs, right? He said something along the lines of, we're humans, we need oxygen, we need water and things like that. Right. So no, I definitely agree with that. You know, those are things that you cannot live without.
Right.
So if I could add to that, right? To me, a want is a need.
Okay.
Right. Your example of a brown skinned woman, right? Mm-hmm. If you really go deeper into it, that's just someone's definition of what beautiful is, right? Like a want carries more than what we're able to communicate. I was doing a podcast and someone called and said that I'll only date tall guys. They need to be above 6'5", right? At first I'm like, wow. However,
that's tall,
right? However, after engaging in more conversation with that person offline, a guy that is above 6'5" defines what security is to her. She feels more safe when she's with someone that is so tall, because back in her childhood, her father was really tall. And if anything happened to them as kids, he was always ready to protect. So she assigned security to being tall, right? So a want in some ways is a need that we just need to redefine what that means, right? Like a lot of guys would say they want a light-skinned woman. Right. Unfortunately, that's what they are being taught, right? And in the State of Black Love Part 1, those were the discussions that we were having, because to them, that's the definition of beautiful. That's the definition of having a happy home and having children that are not as melanated as others, because they would have a higher survival rate. Right. So to me, I think that if we dig deeper and identify these things, it can have a different meaning.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird when you say that. I think about my dad, and my dad, he feels like I would, I guess, align more with someone who's African American. So I was dating someone who was Puerto Rican, and he's like, well, you have nothing in common because you guys don't even walk the same ground steps. So if you're out there as a black woman, you're probably going to get the stones. Correct. And then he's walking down the street and he looks more pale. He's probably going to get the better paying job or whatever it was.
Cops will approach him differently.
Right. But then he's being, he contradicted himself because he started dating someone who was Filipino. So I'm like, what are you doing? But it's just interesting that we think of race when it comes to love or when it comes to wants versus need. Yeah. Have you guys ever experienced a situation where you're like, oh, I'm not going to be with that person because of their race?
Oh, yes. So, I'm Haitian. I was born and raised exactly. I was born and raised in Haiti. My whole life I was told date a light-skinned woman with good hair and beautiful eyes, so your kids could have good hair and beautiful eyes. So I grew up wanting fair-skinned women, right? Wow. I grew up chasing a specific type of woman. However, when I met my fiance, future wife, right? She was a black girl, right? And the way that I would approach her, she's like, no, that is non-acceptable. You do not approach me that way when I've seen you approach other women a different kind of way, right? So I had to do my own social unconditioning of what we see in the media, how rappers treat black women, how society tell us about black women, right? So I had to unlearn all of these things for me to be able to sit comfortably with these emotions, feel them, identify where they came from so I can shift it. So now when I'm in the presence of a black woman or queen, I feel honored. I feel their presence. And the minute I have the opportunity to stand up for them, trust me, I'm the first one to stand up. I'm the first one to approach them like, your hair looks amazing. Your outfit is popping, girl. Get it, girl. Like, I feel like that.
I hear that have Creole want to come out.
Correct. I have to do that nowadays because I don't want the next generation to have the same mindset that I was conditioned to have. Wow. And those are one of the goals that we're trying to address in the state of Black Love. Like, we want to educate people on how our upbringing, our social conditioning, our experiences, how Black love is positioned to fail, right? So that's basically our goal, man.
Well, I like what you said, and one of the things that stood out to me was you talked about upbringing, right?
Correct.
So for me personally, right, I was never brought up with that upbringing of, oh, you know, you got to get with this type of woman or you got to get with that type of woman, right? The upbringing that I was brought up with was that we're all human, right? And we all have, you know, a specific character, and we need to, and not to say that physical attraction is not important, because it is, right? However, I was taught that us being humans, we're all beautiful in our own right.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so for me, I don't have, you know, yes, obviously, I think I do have a preference, you know, like I love our African American women. But however, if God presents me with a Latino woman or a white woman or something like that, right? For me, I'm going to be obedient to what God says. And that's just me.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
These are some great answers. I can't wait for the ladies. This is going to be amazing. But State of Black Love, is it part 2, 1 and 2 already? And then part 3?
Correct, yes. Part 3 is scheduled for May 16th.
Can I get on?
You know what? We were introduced a day too late.
Okay, no.
A day too late. So part 3 will be addressing what men and women really want in a relationship.
All right, he's going to have us on part 4.
All right, we're going to
Part 4.
Part 5, because part 4 is already scheduled. Listen, a lot of people have been reaching out to us. The top of the top has taken notice and they understand what we're trying to do. Wow. So they've just been pitching us on a lot of different things. So part 3 and 4 is already scheduled. However,
do you have the date for part 4?
We're thinking sometime in the summer, probably July or August. But we are planning a relationship conference in which that each coach or therapist will be given a time slot where they get to design their own workshop and run it in hopes of educating people not only with the knowledge but with the skill set and putting it into practice so that when they leave that day, they have specific tools that they can use to enhance or obtain the black love that they crave.
I have to give you kudos though, because I went on your social media and I seen some snippets from that, and
yes,
I was like, wow, this is
why
amazing.
Wasn't I invited? I know he was like, why wasn't I invited?
No, I was thinking, I was like, wow, this is really amazing. I'm glad to see somebody, a young brother like yourself, in the community that's putting these things on and really giving people the tools and the knowledge to be able to be successful in a black relationship.
Thank you. We did a live role play of how to address a conflict. And it was amazing to see that nobody was able to address the problem.
Ooh.
Wow.
The amount of people that were triggered or felt criticized, I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
We have work to do, man.
Yeah, but is it a matter of not knowing how to address it or not being honest enough to address it?
It was a matter of not possessing the skills to illustrate how they are feeling and not having the tools necessary to have the conversation. It was like, it was a fight again. When the goal was we just had this fight, now we're going to sit here and talk about the fight and reach a resolution. Nobody reached a resolution.
The problem I feel is that people talk more than they actually listen.
Absolutely. And the Bible talks about that.
Yeah.
It talks about that. Slow to speak, you know, but quick to listen. So I think that's one of the things that, and once again, a biblical principle that I think is very essential for a relationship, because we are always ready to respond. Versus actually,
I could be a relationship coach.
You should do it. But yeah, we're always so quick to respond versus listening and truly understanding what our partner is trying to say. And one of the things that I always tell my clients is, when your partner says something to you, right? Make sure you give them your undivided attention, you listen, but then also tell them something like this. So what I'm hearing you say is, because the thing is, they're saying something and what you heard might be different than what they're saying. Yeah. So you always want to reiterate what you heard in order to make sure that you're understanding them properly.
Yes.
All right, let me tell you guys an experience before.
I just have to add to that.
Okay, go ahead. Because I don't want you to lose your thought.
No. You're right, 100%, but it's twofold. So he spoke to the first fold, and I'm going to speak to the second. To the second fold, right? So yes,
there's no alcohol in these drinks.
Right. When partners are so quickly to respond and not listen, but we never ask why. The reason is the way you start a conversation, 96% of the time is the way that it's going to end. Only 4% of couples that have reached mastery can start a conversation negatively and then end it in a positive manner, right? So if your partner is attacking you, like, it doesn't matter what tone or what they're saying. If I start cursing you out, you're not going to sit there and try to listen to me. You're going to defend yourself. That's human nature.
Right.
So the way to start a conversation is with a soft startup.
Absolutely.
Right. This is how I'm feeling, and this is what caused me to feel this way. I'm not attacking you. And if I start attacking you, automatically you're going to defend yourself. right? So that's the issue. We don't know how to start a conversation.
And can I piggyback off of that one last time?
Talk to me, my guy. Talk to me.
Because and this goes back to biblical principles, right? It says in the scripture, speak the truth in love. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
You're speaking the truth, but you're not doing it harshly. You see what I'm saying? You're coming to them and saying, hey, look, I feel like this. And this is why I feel like this. What can we do to resolve the issue, or, X, Y, and Z? So I completely agree with you, because that's just another biblical principle that makes a relationship work.
And
Correct.
It doesn't change.
Yes. Exactly.
See, y'all threw me all over. Go ahead. I'll just sit back.
Yeah, and but for men, the biggest issue is recognizing our feelings, because we're not able to verbalize it, right? The woman would succeed in expressing how this made her feel, while the man wouldn't, or is incapable of, or requires more time, right? Let's say, for example, I was supposed to pick up the milk, and I came home without the milk, and you needed the milk.
Why did you come without the milk?
Okay. Good point, right?
No.
So a proper way to have this conversation would be, I feel neglected and invisible to you lately in the relationship, right? You didn't pick up the milk in terms of you're not thinking of me. You're not remembering my needs. Now the children need the milk for the cereal. Lately, I've been feeling neglected. I've been feeling invisible. So therefore, this weekend, could we drop off the kids at the babysitter and spend Saturday together? We can go have brunch, then a movie, and spend the night together. That would make me feel much better, right? Do you see how this conflict went so smoothly? Here's the problem.
Right.
Here's what's causing it. Here are my deep feelings about it, and here how we can resolve it.
Wow.
This way, you know what, babe, you're right. I apologize. How dare have? I've been working a lot lately. I've been under a lot of stress, and I've neglected you. You're right. I'll drop off the kids, and we'll do just that. But if I walk in and you say, you didn't get the milk, you don't care about us, you're just selfish. Now I got to defend myself. Now I'm going to start calling you names as well. And boom.
Right. And then just kind of to piggyback off of what you said.
Y'all doing a lot of piggybacking.
And so
get a word in edgewise.
The expert panel.
and so to your point, you're absolutely correct. And then I think it's also imperative when the man or the woman, whoever is on the receiving end of it, right, they utilize this acronym. I like to say LOVE, right, where you listen, you observe, you validate, and you express.
Correct.
Right? So you're listening to them, but while you're listening to them, you're observing their body language. You're observing, how their eyes are looking, your facial expressions and things like that, right? And then you validate their feelings, because their feelings are valid,
100%.
right?
Yeah,
and then you express love by saying, hey, you know what? Yes, I understand I was wrong, because now you're making them feel heard. You're making them feel valued.
But see, some men...
Not follow up on that.
No, don't you dare. Some men would be the opposite. Like, oh, I feel neglected. Well, what do you mean? Last week I got this and you didn't get it this week. Like, they feel like I'm attacking now.
That's a beautiful question. That is amazing. And that's exactly where I wanted to go with this, right? In an argument, like if you and I are arguing, we're both right. We are both justified. From my point of view, I've been doing what I needed to do to fulfill you. From your point of view, I have not. So you're right and I'm right. Agreed?
I don't even know.
Okay, let me break it down. So in my mind, I feel like I've been doing what I needed to do to fulfill you in the relationship.
Right.
But in your eyes, I haven't been doing absolutely nothing. Right? So we're both right. Now, the fact that we had this conversation and as you said, well, last week I took you out. Yes, you did. But you also fell asleep early, and that was the only time. And that was the only time we went out in the past 2 months. Babe, I need more of you. I miss you. I miss our friendship. I miss us going out. I just miss you. It's different now.
Damn.
Skill sets. Skill sets.
Absolutely.
Implementation of proper skill set will take your relationship from non-conducive to the happiest thing ever.
Absolutely.
Well, I have nothing else to say. I mean, we're about to have this second hour with the ladies. You guys have anything else left in your souls?
Okay, so my audience is mainly women, and I've been trying to, in my past, like I would work with the males more. Like I was a dating coach, right? Where I would teach my guys on how to, do unholy things. Right. However, I have changed my ways and my views of relationships. So now I feel like I need to provide women more tools. Right, because I feel like they are being taken advantage of.
Oh, so you created a problem.
I'm solving it.
Now you're trying to fix the problem
I didn't create it.
With men.
It's always been there.
Being idiots.
Correct.
Now you're trying to educate the women so they know the idiotic ways of the man. Okay, I got it.
So to me, one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen women make is that they're waiting to be chosen. Where guys have all the power, and we get to just choose whoever we want to be with. And since the woman is waiting to be chosen, when they're chosen, they tend to accept most of the nonsense that we come with.
And
so
anything.
I actually got a question for you.
Let me finish that thought. Brother. So the way to reverse that is that women have to become the chooser. Right, because you guys are the catch. We're not. You guys have all the power. We don't. But until that mindset shift, you will always be the victim.
Right.
So the way to become the chooser is, I'm not sure if you're going to agree with this, but I'm still go with it, right?
Hey, go with it, man.
You got to stop playing the numbers, right? Don't just date 3 people and then choose one out of the 3. There's millions and millions of people out there. Date as much as possible. Let's say you start dating 50 people, then you bring it down to 30, then 20, then 5, then 3, then 2, then 1.
This seems to be acceptable for men to do.
I said dating.
Yeah.
I didn't say sleep with.
Yeah, but even if you're dating,
so now let me
and
ask you a
no
question.
sexual intercourse or anything, you're still a slut. Or
Let me ask you a question, right? Define dating.
So when I think of dating, I'm thinking you're going out and enjoying each other's company and learning more about what are your likes, what are your dislikes, what's your favorite color,
So all you're doing is getting to know somebody, right?
Correct.
So why is somebody a slut or a whore? Because they're getting to know somebody.
No, not me.
No, I know,
Not me.
but you're but if a man like Max said, if he's getting to know 30 people, what's wrong with that? Because all we're doing is we're building friendships to see, hey, look, this person, you know what, they're a good fit for my life as a friend.
Correct.
Okay, this person, okay, you know what, there's something special about her.
Correct.
That I want to move to the next level with her.
Right.
So my question, and so when you were like, oh, do you agree with that? I agree with that, meaning that people be like, oh, well, you just date one person at a time, right?
That's incorrect.
All you're doing is you're just getting to know somebody.
Right.
So if you're building friendships, right? We're not just building one friendship at a time. It's not like, oh, I'm just building a friendship with, you, NikiMarie, and I can't be friends with anybody else. Like, that's crazy.
See, the problem is the jealousy aspect. I feel like you have to come full, like, right from the beginning. Hey, just to let you know, I am dating you, but I'm also dating other people.
And that's perfectly
fine.
But
sometimes when you don't have that conversation, that's when problems happen.
Yes.
And there becomes jealousy or this ownership mentality.
And that's what we're trying to shift.
So back to what Max said at the beginning, right? People make it hard.
Yes.
Right.
And that's
see, we go from beginning to the end, we come full circle.
Correct. and us men are the one that came up with these terms like slut, whore to put on you so you're less likely to engage in what we're doing.
Right.
But we have to switch that mindset. If I presented you with a contract for your business? Are you just going to accept it, or are you going to see what other contracts you can get?
I'm going to see which one has the best cost and what's more effective for me.
It's the same about relationships. Before you make a decision, you got to see what else is out there.
Before you put a ring on it.
Before you become exclusive.
Right.
Before you become exclusive.
Right.
Be the chooser and do not wait to be chosen.
Right.
That's basically the message that I'm trying to carry out.
So my question to you is, do you think it's okay for a woman to shoot her shot at a man?
What do you mean?
Like, let the man know that she's interested.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's okay. I think it's a good approach. Like, some women aren't confident enough to do it, but I feel like you're going to just let that person pass you by and you'll just never know.
I totally agree with that because it's so crazy.
I expected you to disagree as I was ready. I had my rebuttal ready.
No, of course not. Because I don't disagree with that for the simple fact that, once again, I'm going back to the Bible, right? A lot of people always talk about, he who finds a wife. I get that, right? But if you look at Ruth and Boaz, right? Ruth made herself known to Boaz for Boaz to notice her and, do whatever it is that he needed to do. And then he married her. So why is it that we have this thing in our mind, or women have this thing in their mind, that they can't let a man know that she's interested? Now, what I will say is, I think it's the man's job to pursue the woman, but there's nothing wrong with a woman letting a man know that she's interested in him.
Also, historically speaking...
I'm only one woman, so we're going to have two other women saying how they feel about that.
And so you're 100% correct. Historically speaking, the woman has always made the first move. Always. Hey, pay attention to me. And the men would see it and think, oh my God, this is a great opportunity to be a man and approach you, not knowing that you set it all up for them to approach you, right? But nowadays, the best way to do it is that, let's say you're at a coffee shop, right? And you see a guy that you're interested in. At first, most women will give a look, right? They will look at you.
I'll wait for eye contact.
Correct. And in their mind, I did enough. He should be approaching me now because he know I like him.
See?
Doesn't work.
I'm using mind control.
We're not mind readers.
Doesn't work.
We're not mind readers.
Even if we are, there's only one type of man that is comfortable approaching women. And that's the kind that you probably do not want to date.
Yes.
Right. So you got to make it easier for us, right?
Right.
You can remove yourself from your circle of
friends,
girlfriends that we look at like, this is looking tough, right? And get closer to us to create a smaller space. And secondly, you can always make the first move. Like, if I'm at the counter getting a coffee, you can like, hey, can you hold on to my jacket for me? I just have to take these coffee cups to my friends. Now you ask me for a favor and I'm holding your jacket. Then you come back, thank you. How is your day today? And I think I did all the work when you did everything yourself.
Right.
This way, you increases your chances of getting who it is that you want to have a conversation with.
Right.
Be proactive.
Yep. Well, we are going to wrap this up, but I want you guys to say your contact information, Instagram, however you want to be reached. So, Mac.
Yes. You can find me on Instagram as talk2mac_therapist, talk 2 Mac MAC_therapist.
Nice.
And you can find me on Instagram at Steven with a PH, L Robinson, or you can go to my website, stevenlrobinson.net, or you can email me at stevenlrobinson.net.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
thank you.
It was a pleasure.
We have a second hour coming up, hopefully with the ladies, and just give you guys some live content. So you guys can always follow me on Instagram at NikiMarie_radio. Until next time, have a wonderful day, my beautiful people. What's up, everyone? It's your favorite podcast host, NikiMarie. I wanted to give you some information about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free, and free is for me. They have creation tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or even your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast in so many places to be heard, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many others. You can even make money with minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. I can't wait to hear your podcast.